This is Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nickel.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what the village, township, and all the various government entities are doing to make regulations, rules, and laws and ordinances that affect you.
And don't forget, these are the people that you elected or the people and commissions that they appointed. So pay attention, whether you live in Oxford Township, Village of Oxford, Village of Leonard, or Addison Township, it all affects you.
Yeah. The other thing is, too, that everything we say on this show is absolutely 100%.
More or less true.
You couldn't have said it better. This is where rumors start. Sometimes we finish rumors, too, don't we?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes rumors become fact.
They do.
They haven't worked lately, but yeah.
No, not for me either. Let's talk about the Oxford Village Council.
All
again.
right.
Okay. Lots of things going on there.
We beat that to death last week, didn't
Well,
we?
we're going to beat the squat out of it again. So
Okay.
hold on to your seat.
You must have had a new thought.
Well, we went to the latest meeting, which is August 12th.
Oh, okay.
And first thing they did is approve bills. You got to pay your bills, you know.
Yep.
$53,000 worth of bills.
Wow.
Yep.
Was that a special meeting?
No, it was a regular meeting.
Okay.
Anyway, the first thing that came up on the subject matter, excuse me, was the subject of the Ridge Lawn Cemetery access road.
Off of Dayton Street.
No, yes, Dayton Street.
No, yes?
Yes. You got that one down, Pat. We've talked about this before.
Yes.
Yep. So anyway, you're probably wondering what's going on, right?
What's going on?
You had to ask, didn't you?
Pray tell.
Okay. Anyway, they want this road through. There was a citizen there that disagreed because he's a next door neighbor. The intention
Who's
is...
been mowing that little driveway?
Yeah, the Atchisons own the property, have since Moses, I guess.
They have?
Not that property, but the cemetery property,
Well, of course, yeah.
which is where they want to let people out of the cemetery.
But they don't own
only
the
live ones.
They don't own the access strip off of Dayton. Who owns it?
Actually, is owned by the village,
Ah,
and the village owns it. So, who owns it? You do, out there. You do too.
Ah.
No, not you. You know why?
you're going to bring that up again? I live in Brandon Township,
Yes, he's not allowed to. We'd like to take his tax money.
but I can have my opinion.
You could be a next, you know.
A what?
A next.
What's a next?
It means we'll take over your house, your property, and make you part of us. We could do that. Annexed.
You're using the royal we there, I'm afraid.
All right, well, we're going to weed right out of this. So anyway, this thing has been under scrutiny for quite some time in other meetings. And the indication was that there was
Other meetings dating back years.
years. True, that's true. And the comment was made that there was approval of this to happen, where they take the road and or the right-of-way, and they put down the foundation and the road and everything for the exit for the cemetery. Unfortunately, they weren't able to find any documentation through all the search in the basement and the archives.
That the village actually owned the property?
Well, no, that there was ever anything agreed upon with the Atchisons to provide this right-of-way, you know, for them. Now, they said, we will pay for the paving, we'll pay for whatever it takes, you know, for this road to get it out. We will maintain it later and so forth.
And this is actually for not everyday funerals that take place, but for the limited big funeral that they expect from time to time that would present a traffic problem coming out on Burdick Street.
That's the way it started out, but now, under questioning, they say, well, there might be some trucks that go in there occasionally, you know.
Oh,
Maybe some other
maintenance.
vehicles that come in there too, you know.
Oh.
So once you open that up, it'll be a way to get in and out of the cemetery. There's no
see.
question about that down the road. But the next door neighbor is against it completely, and other people are against it due to the fact of the traffic additional volume that would be created on Dayton Street, which is already, you know.
Well, there's actually two neighbors. There's one on one side, one on the other, and they've been sort of mowing that property and sort of merging it into their lawn.
Yeah, and they do understand it's not theirs. So,
Right.
So the thing came up. Well, maybe we could sell the property. Maybe the cemetery would buy the property, or maybe the neighbor would buy the property, and
Well,
Maureen-
bidding war ensues.
Well, no.
No.
Maureen Helmuth says, "Well, you can't do that."
Oh.
Why can't you do that? I don't know, some kind of regulation or so forth, you can't sell a public road, even though it's owned by the public.
Is it a road?
It is a road. I mean, the road that runs by Dayton Street.
Is
Yeah, this is zoned a road.
oh,
An exit is zoned a road.
how long a piece of property is it?
It's rather short. Runs the distance of the lot, which is probably about 50-foot, distance.
Probably the shortest road in Oxford.
Yeah. But the question comes up: was it the intention to, when this was laid out originally, to have a road straight through to Burdick Street, through the cemetery, and going through to Dayton Street? Was that the intent? If that's the intent, then it was the intention to have a public road
Well-
through there. So all these questions came up, but they couldn't find the archive that would say, that the
If
village
that was
agreed
true,
to do this.
if that was true, then the village would not only own that 50 feet, but the entire strip of land going to Burdick,
Right.
which they don't.
Which they don't. Well, you don't know that. Is it a right-of-way? Was there a right-of-way that was declared many years ago that's on the plat?
Apparently, no one can find that, can
No.
they?
Well, I'm sure the village can look it up if they really need to do that and see if there was any indication that that was the case. But we're really not getting into that.
I think
The
that one was
question is,
written on
what do you-
papyrus, wasn't it?
Yeah. What do you?
Papyrus.
What do you do with the property? Should we just go ahead and give it to them? Do we retain ownership of it? There's another thing that they can do legally, and that is vacate.
Make a decision.
They can vacate the property. The village can declare vacate.
What does that mean?
Oh, I was afraid you never asked.
I did.
What it is that if property is vacated, then it's actually split up between the landowners. Each of the people,
What landowners?
the ones that live next door,
But their cemetery is next door also.
right, they would get a small piece of it probably on the backside, on their property line. The other two owners would receive it.
But that kills the whole access issue.
It would be dead. Yep,
Okay.
would be. And
Unless the homeowners all of a sudden decided, hey, we
but
can
wait,
sell this for a tidy price.
but wait.
What?
There's more news. They discovered paperwork back in
Oh.
2004 where the village at that time had written a letter, a proposal, an agreement with the owners of the cemetery that this would be an applicable use, for it. So they have at least a premise laid down now. I haven't
Right.
seen the document. It's only hearsay, and by the way, rumors start here, so.
Yeah, and this cemetery really is one of two cemeteries in that area. Their portion is commercial. The part west of them is township, as well as the part on the other side of Burdick is also township cemetery.
Right. Well, another option that came forward, I got to just mention this, is providing a permit. that
For
they could-
airdrop?
They could, no.
No.
They could apply for a
Oh.
permit, to have this done. And the village can either approve a permit or decline it for various reasons. But so that's another option. There are really three options there.
Is that a
So
village decision or a planning commission?
It actually comes before the council, and the council will make the final decision.
But it's
on this
recommended
thing.
by the planning commission.
It could be recommended, but it doesn't mean the council's going to approve it.
Ever.
Most cases, though, the council does go along with what the planning commission, chooses
Right.
to do in a lot of cases. But this is,
So basically
A
what you're
unique
saying
case.
is, after X number of years, they're still dipping it in and wringing it out.
they are, and the mud is still flying. And actually, these folks, a while back, when it was approved, if it was approved back in 2004, at least it was moving in the right momentum that they wanted. Should have jumped on it, but they ran out of finances, and unfortunately weren't able to complete the
Right.
task. Now, I think too, when that happens, even if it was approved, I believe that there is a deadline on the amount of time that actually will hold. I think
Unless
it's
they
90
ask,
days.
unless they ask for an extension.
Well, which they never did.
Is there paperwork on that?
Well, they've never even implied they asked for an extension.
Okay.
They just were told that they had to come back and re-go through the process again. So that's what they're doing. So
But each time they do that, it's at some expense.
right. Well, now that, but it starts from the
What is that
beginning
expense,
again.
by the way?
Actually, to apply for it, if they're going to get a permit, there's a fee for a permit. To come before the council, it doesn't cost them anything other than they have to have engineering. engineering process, which has to be completed. You know what? Let's talk about that when we come back.
Okay.
Right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nickel.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we've been talking about the Oxford Village Council and what's going on with the cemetery. So that is an ongoing process.
Yep.
So there's more to happen down the line. The attorneys get involved, their architects are involved, all kinds, their engineers are involved.
They've always
We're
been.
involved. Everybody's involved.
This is like the never-ending story.
The never-ending story. Yep. And it ends at the cemetery.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to find out sooner or later. Let me see. Oh, water and sewer. There's our favorite subject. Yummy, huh? Second reading was adopted for it.
What does that mean?
It means that if the next approval, the next reading in the next meeting that we have in September is approved by October.
New rates will have been
starts.
approved, basically.
Yep, October 2014.
Okay.
So we answered more questions, from the public, on the water and sewer issue. But I think pretty much everyone's informed. If they're not, they can contact the village, get a hold of Joe Young, and I'm sure Joe will be able to discuss this with them.
I don't think
somewhat.
residents are affected all that much by it, but businesses and industrial sites are.
Everybody is, but in some cases with the water and sewer, it's going to be less money for the residents out there. For some, it's going to be more. Depends on the usage. It's strictly the usage now. So if you use a gallon of water, you're going to be charged for a gallon. Use 100,000 gallons, you're going to be charged for 100,000 gallons. And that's the way it should work.
Yeah, there was some kind of a fixed amount before, and now that doesn't exist.
No, 2,000 gallons originally.
Yep.
And no, that one's gone. Under the bridge. Right. Okay. Let's talk about...
Or 696.
yeah, 696. Edison East Alley. Got an agreement that it's going to run about $350,000. We had talked about that before.
Now, that alley is on the south side of the church, right?
It's on the south side of the church and runs
Just
behind
thought
the church.
Just thought I'd throw that at you.
Yes, and runs behind the church too. Anyway, they had bids come in, and the lowest bid for the project was $327,000 in that neighborhood. So it looks like that's about what it's going to take to do it.
Do they have any idea of time of completion? Or have they let contracts out?
Well, actually, the turn lane is going to be done in, I think, 2015, I think, in that period. So
Oh.
probably next year. But this should be done probably latter portion of this year, next year,
Okay.
somewhere in that framework.
How much is it going to cost?
It's going to cost $327,102 right now.
Does the state participate in that?
Well, if you want to count MDOT.
Yeah.
Is it
MDOT
connects to
being the state.
M24,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, they're involved in it. There's no getting around it, but they're not providing any
Money.
finances,
Okay.
to do this. You won't probably wonder where the money's come from, right?
You'll wonder where the money went.
Give me your checkbook. No, no, it's not. $50,000 is going to be provided by DDA because it's in their budget to do that.
It's
And
also, is it in, is DD, it's in their, zone too, isn't it?
it's in their zone, yes.
Okay.
And then they're going to borrow $300,000 from the sewer fund. Now, which has, $477,000 roughly, in the sewer fund. But keep in mind that they already borrowed $100,000, I believe it was, from the sewer fund to
Gosh,
be
it
used
sounds like
for
what the
Burdick
federal
Street.
government did with Social Security.
Yeah, it's a never-ending trend. It's running in circles, and it's going to come back and bite us. I know. So anyway,
Here's an IOU. Okay.
well, the point was that we've got this money going out. Our general fund is starting to drop. Hey, you guys on this council, you better think about how you're going to start saving money.
Cash flow.
Cash flow is going to be a problem. Oh, I got an idea. Somebody said,
What's
let's
that?
raise
Build a
taxes.
build
No.
Build a dam. That will stop it. No.
Right. Yeah, decrease it. Yeah, build a dam. That'll do it. Yep. Let the water flow. Anyway, we raise the water rates again if the dam is broke. Okay. So anyway, so that's pretty much where we are on the construction for the Edison Alley.
Okay.
It is moving along. The question concerning trees and shrubs and all this kind of thing, I think I mentioned it before, but there is no regulation that requires them an improved road
Right.
to do this.
And
so.
that resolved any questions that some residents had once they found out the degree
Mm-hmm.
of construction that was going to go on.
But, you know, the thing is with some residents, when this happens, you know, they see that big word free, and they gotta understand that that big letter free is a 4-letter word to a lot of residents that have to pay for it. So there's nothing free, as you well know. So,
Yeah.
so that's something which will probably be discussed at future council meetings too. So 98 Glaspie Street, Venture, the name of the company is Venture. Want to come in and they want to build this
These
thing
are for
on-
hearing impaired people?
It is, and visual. And that money.
Hearing and visual?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
this is dependent on state grant money in order to get this through.
Okay.
I saw the contract, went through the contract from one end to the other. They have, for the first year of this contract, a clause for $1,000 gives them exclusive rights, you know, to the property for 1 year. Now, if they go past the year, they're allowed to get another 6 months for an additional $1,000. In other words, it's costing them $2,000. The money would be used then, let's say they do that, there's $2,000 would be applied to their actual purchase cost, which was agreed upon at $400,000 as a purchase price.
Well, that being said, is it also taxable property?
There's some question. It's in the contract that that's kind of an open clause, which is negotiable right now. We haven't made any commitment from the village standpoint at all. So, you know, before we can spread a rumor here, we have to have one.
Okay. But just an auxiliary question here, how many employees will this place have?
How many employees will this place have?
Well, if it's going to be a benefit to Oxford, it has to
Yeah.
have employees.
It will have employees, and I really can't answer that question because I haven't really seen their,
Okay.
you know, program yet and what they're going to provide for the building. So, no, I don't know.
So does it
Could you do research on that?
No. Does it require any special traffic controls? Will these people be allowed to come and go?
Well, they can't run up and down the street willy-nilly.
Well, that's what I'm basically saying.
No.
So can they
Right.
walk downtown or something like that?
They're
Are
not like
there other-
gerbils, you can't cage them.
It's not so much that as do they require extra facilities like at traffic lights and stuff like that?
There will be.
Okay, like audible signals and
There
stuff
will
like
be.
that. Okay,
So there's some infrastructure changes that have to be made
Right.
also.
right.
So that being recognized, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good application, you know, for the village when they come in.
Great.
Next thing was health insurance. Obamacare has slaughtered us in the village.
You mean
and
it's
in the
gone? You
township.
mean insurance rates have gone up?
Oh, well, here's one thing. The insurance program they have currently is now can't be used because it doesn't meet the criteria of the Obama program. So they have to hunt for another insurance program for
What is the criteria?
for the union people. Well, there's a lot of criteria required.
Is
in
it
order to
based on
meet
head?
standards.
Is it based on head count?
It's based on a lot of things, the type of care that's given, and
Mm-hmm.
you know the fees that they charge, all kinds of things come into play.
Of course, you have
So-
unions to take care of too.
Well, that's it. We've signed union contracts, so we'll talk about that when we come back right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And boy, we're beating the daylights out of the village council, aren't we? We're talking about the health program, and interesting enough, the program is going to cost the village twice as much as the old program did to get the insurance program.
The same degree of service.
No, less service because
Oh.
actually it's hard on the employees too because they have to pay a higher comp rate. You know,
Comp rate or
or
deductible?
Or deductible.
Okay.
Did I say comp rate?
Yes, you did.
I did. That was a rumor. Yeah, it's
That was a
deductible. It was a fact. Deductible, yep. So, you know, they're not happy with it either, but it's the only program that's the closest to what they had before. So, anyway, so we had no other recourse than to go ahead and sign the agreement. And
So, in the ebb and flow of finance, does that mean some Peter is going to get robbed to pay Paul?
there's the way the money is leaving. We got to find a way to come up with funds. There's no getting around it.
Like I said.
That means cutting expenses where we can. And,
Yeah.
but that's
Okay.
that's a process that they'll
Yeah,
have to
it
deal
goes
with the
on
new
and on.
budgets next year.
And Joe Young has been very good at trimming expenses and meeting targets. He's done a great job.
Yeah, he's taken a lot of heart medicine, stress medicine.
That's
he's doing a good
not
job,
easy,
though.
easy decisions to make.
No. And there's a lot of people, though, are behind him. Joe, everybody's behind you, Joe.
Way
behind.
behind.
But anyway, then there's also, they talked about fees and permit increases. They're going to
Okay.
increase those. They're talking about doing away with people that have to pull a
Doing
permit.
away with people?
No, doing away with permits. Yeah, do away with people. Hey, these are not gerbils or those rodents you get rid of. No, you got to keep the people.
Up with the people, come on.
You're right. So anyway, they're going to eliminate roof permits. So you don't have to do, you know, they don't have roofing permits in every other community, only here.
Oh,
So eliminate that and siding permits. So that should make that a lot easier, you know, on the contractors.
I guess.
Yeah. Also, based on the current budget, let's say $25,000, it would now turn to $40,000 in terms of what they would have available with the new
For-
with the new changes that they would make in the permit fees, which I don't have a schedule to go over here
What
with you.
budget is that?
That's what is budgeted for the village. What they
As,
can
in,
expect
as income?
is income,
Okay.
expected
All right.
income to come in.
Right.
Now, get this, 75% of that income for these inspections, for building inspections at least, go to the inspector.
How much?
75%.
Wow,
So if it's $20,000.
nice commission.
Yeah, if you're looking at $20,000, which is what the budget was originally, $25,000, then the inspector was getting $18,000 and the villager was getting the remainder of that.
Okay.
But now it's going to jump to $40,000. 75% or 75% of that would give them $30,000 out of the $40,000.
Right.
So I jumped up. I said, "Hey, it'd be fair if it's 50-50, you know."
Or put
He
a
would get actually get a raise because if he gets 50% of 40,000, he'd
Mm-hmm.
get 20,000. He was making 18,000 before.
And this is
Right.
based on either current statistics or future growth statistics, or what?
Well, and this is based on what the permit fees will bring in, based on past history.
Oh,
They did an analysis on it. Okay.
So
They got
it's-
all kinds of numbers if you want to look at numbers.
no.
See enough numbers, right? Okay. So anyway, Joe Young said, well, hey, you know, I will take it, you know, before the inspectors and discuss this as far as an agreement.
Inspectors?
Inspectors, there's more than one. There's mechanical inspector, electrical inspector, there's building inspector. And right now, we're talking about
So they
the
all have
building
to divvy all
inspector.
that money up?
Ah, but keep in mind that for example, mechanical inspector doesn't make as much money on his projects as the building inspector makes. He's lucky to make $2,000-3,000 on an HVAC program, for example,
Right, but
which is a lot of work.
basically this proposal would say 50% goes to all these guys.
No.
No?
No, it'll have to be broken down, I think, according to the specialty that they're involved in.
Okay.
Yeah. It may not change, you know, in the other groups because you only got so much room, you know,
Right.
in those areas. So we'll have to see how that works out. Joe's going to look at it. And actually, Bill Dunn stood up from the township and he said, we're 50-50. That's the way we do it. And so they said, well, what do you do if somebody doesn't want to accept the 50-50? He said, there's a long line of people. He says, waiting for this job. So,
But
you don't want to do that.
Not to misconstrue this, but there's not 5 people waiting for 50%
no.
each.
No, they're not. Yeah, you got that one right, finally. Okay, so anyway, let me see, what else? Oh, weight restrictions on Burdick Street. And they did discuss that in Burdick Street. There's a question concerning the way the verbiage or the way it was written, you know, as an ordinance. It said no traffic between such and such, or no trucks between such and such time. And we're not meaning no trucks. So the attorney is taking it back. They're going to re-review it and rewrite it.
What was the reason for it?
Because Burdick Street has a lot of these big gravel trucks going down it right now. And they're tandem trucks.
Right.
And each of the tandems or axles they have is equal to about 10,000 cars.
So are these,
about 5 or 6
mainly
axles, so-
coming from the Lakeville side or from the Seymour Lake Road
Yes.
side?
Both.
Okay.
They're coming and going. And they chatter people right out of their beds.
Oh,
Okay, so.
and you say Jake brake.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, Jake brake, that's another one, but that, they think that's gonna fall under noise ordinance. Jake brake is when an engine, you know, they feed it back through the engine, so it becomes kind of a compressor, you know that.
It's a braking system that
Yep.
minimizes wear on the actual brake components themselves.
Right, but it makes a heck of a noise in most cases. And it's to be used for emergency purposes usually in this area. If, let's say somebody cuts in front of one of these big trucks, which they never do, right? And then they'll Jake brake, and the truck comes to a halt. Okay, so anyway, so they need
I don't know
control
if
on
that-
that, it's
I don't
pretty
know if that's
noisy.
quite true. Well, okay, go ahead.
Hey, all right, we said we spread rumors.
I know.
Okay, let me see. They also had a meeting at Addison Township where the Board of Trustees agreed to place a 0.25 mil property tax on the ballot for November
For NODA.
for NODA, and that's a great one. I think they're
This
making
is
the right decision there.
And this is one that failed marginally during the primary election, so they put it
Yep.
back on the ballot.
Right. Now Addison Township also for the public library is going to put it back on because they only missed by a few votes. So that's another one that you'll be seeing in November, folks. And the one for the Oxford Public Library is also going to go on with a 10-year 0.4518 mil.
Now that everyone's
increase.
jumping on the boat, what about the community center?
Nope,
No.
they're not gonna file again. So you
Okay.
won't see that one. What's up? What's coming?
Well, we do have a few meetings. On 8/19 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Planning Commission. And on 8/20 at 3 o'clock, the Pollyant Trail Management Council will meet at Friendship Park in Lake Orion. That's down what, Jocelyn Road?
Yeah.
Or Baldwin Road?
Well, it's close.
Right, yes, indeed.
Those roads are. Okay, go ahead.
And
I'm
also
new.
on
How do
8
I know?
Also on 8/20 at 7 o'clock, the Addison Township Fire Administration Board meets. And also at 7, the Oxford Public Library Board. On 8/21 at 5 p.m., the Oxford Township Ordinance Review Subcommittee will meet, but check on that one, because sometimes they don't. Also, not occurring on 8/21 is the NODA meeting, which has been canceled for August. And on 8/25 at 4 o'clock, the Oxford Area Cable Communication Commission, our parent body.
With that, this is Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nickel.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we'll catch you next time.
You bet.
You're watching OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford, Addison Township, and the Village of Leonard.
President Roosevelt signed the Bill of Rights.
I've always appreciated the American Legion's
My gratitude to the American
Thank
Legion.
you all to the American Legion.
We have millions of veterans that are members of our organization. Thank you.
The American Legion. We serve America and its veterans. We pledge ourselves to our veterans, our youth, a strong national defense, and Americanism. These 4 pillars shape our work and what we do for America. There is power in our numbers. We're the largest organization of wartime veterans in the nation. We are 2.5 million members strong, men and women from every state in the nation and around the world. No other veterans organization wields this kind of power. We work relentlessly within our 4 pillars of service, and we we succeed.